Alright, do I in fact have everything ready and what I need to do this stream? Hello and welcome to Learning to SE. It's been a real exciting week for people who play Space Engineers, mainly because of the fact that the release dropped on Thursday. I was talking, I think last week or the week before, about speculation of when it was going to happen, and it was fast, man. It was just like, boom, it was hitting. Actually, no, I think it was last week we were speculating it was supposed to be on a Thursday, and it was going to be 13th, 20th, or 27th, and it was literally like the next day. It's just like, oh, by the way, it's coming out Thursday. Lot of, so highly recommend going and to the spaceengineers.com website, Keen Software House. Check out their video that they did for it. It's very cool. Good to check out this. I will show a little bit, not a whole lot, but I can guarantee you, because I know I've seen it in the stuff, that a lot of the usual Space Engineer streamers and gamers have done videos on the automation. I went the other route because I'm a radical nonconformist, and I just wasn't in the mood to do a lot of that kind of work right now. It's a tedium, and I don't find it. I find it entertaining, but only at certain times. The rest of the time, I find it just kind of. If I wanted to sit and figure out how to set up this set up configurations in a block, I just go to work. So as usual, we start out with showcase, which is where I start off in my offline weekly save. This is actually a new rover that I've built for a co-op that I'm playing with some friends, and it's called the Maximum Effort, and the reason being is because I kind of made it look like Deadpool. So when we get to the normal stuff that we've been playing on Mars, you'll get to get a preview of the thing that we were working on, which is this. This is the Maximum Overdrive rover, and that is currently we're working on in the other save, and we'll be finishing up a little later tonight. So it's really built on the same frame. I'm improving on a couple areas where there needs to be improvement. There's still some tweaking, but relatively it's the same. This is built to be a multi-stage, kind of a mobile launch platform. So it's got 4 landing pads on it, which cuts down on the amount of gun space, but that's fine. One of the big selling points of both of these is that they are, since they're mobile, they have, drilling rig on them so that they can gather resources. The difference with this one is I've improved on it with centralizing the drill, as opposed to on the other one it's offset slightly. This one also has a much more clear and usable control room. You don't have to sit in the seat the whole time to control everything. You can actually just use the panels, and I colored the panels to make it easier to distinguish the buttons. And you walk down here, and then you have a little 4-man berthing. The crew complement for this is 4. Can be ran with 1, recommends 2. So got some bathrooms up forward, and you got the control spaces up here. That's got your displays of all your materials and everything like that. And then you have back here is the engineering, and you notice there's a lot of floor space because I wanted to make sure that as I change stuff out, because this was built pre release. I mean, the thing just dropped on Thursday, and I couldn't really redesign a whole bunch of stuff in that short period of time. People have jobs, man. So anyways, yeah, and a little power control panel, but got some more stuff to do with it. But yeah, that it's double refinery. I don't normally put my the like refinery and assembler modules in right away, because I tend to like, I try to keep the blueprints free of that. I can always put them in after the fact. And then it's got 2 large cargo containers back there behind it. Then you go over here, you got your little like weapons corner. I like doing my stuff in kind of sections, so you have like the, you know, the berthing section, the drill control section, engineering, you know, have the control deck, you have kind of the weapons deck here, cryo chambers, which is, this is all part of the medical section. The medical bay is kind of minimalistic, but like I said, I was building this actually really fast. I actually, because I was using the other frame, I threw it together in like 3-4 hours. And then, you know, lounge area, and you can actually access the drill if you have to do any repairs, and you can actually walk across, and so you can do a whole circle. So that's that. This uses what I call the wasted wheel design. Sorry for the pause there. I have some cats that are kicking each other's asses right now for fun. Alright. They're killing themselves. Actually, I should turn on the undercarriage lights here. It's dark. It'd be dark on here. I should probably just do it in this door. Light. Ground effect lights on. So let's turn all, since it's dark on, let's turn all the lights on. Spelling. Some breathing lights are on, cafe lights are on, drill controller lights on, ground effects on, front headlights on, interior on, headlights are on, and running lights are on. Okay, so you can get up to the flight deck through the side doors here, and there's ladders on each of the platforms, so you can get up to those. Some small turrets, some medium turrets. Back to the undercarriage. So, as you're down here, like I said, there's 4 rows of 5 3x3 wheels. This piston makes it so that if you run out of hydrogen, you can actually like get into the inventory. This, when you're drilling, also sits up on jacks. There's 4 of these here that will extend, which lock it in place, which after very much experimentation with rovers that are drilling, I find that it's always good to be able to lock it in place when you're drilling, and so that just makes it so you can do it real quick and easy. It's all controls that you can do. You don't have to get out, weld out landing gear and stuff like that. If you want to like hook up some wind turbines, you know, say you're running low on battery power and you're not got uranium and stuff like that, you can mount a throw 2 blocks on here and then a standard landing gear, and then you can drop the suspension slightly and it will connect to the ground directly, and then you can just throw some wind turbines up here and charge the batteries no problem. So this is the mods that this thing is running is just these lights here, the MA Spotlight pack, and I think might be it. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Just that light set. Because the save that or the co-op that I'm doing, it's very vanilla right now, and so I didn't want to put too many mods in, but I like the mod pack. I can work around it if that didn't get installed, but it made it easy. One of the things of note, these are heavy armor. They coordinate right directly with the front wheels. When I did testing with the Maximum Overdrive, and it's actually something I'm going to change out on that eventually too. When I tested on that, these take a lot of the brunt of what you're doing when you're doing hard terrain. If you run into a ditch or something like that, it's gonna crush these ones. It's usually this corner. Putting this as heavy armor and these blocks as heavy armor just saves a lot of repair work. So, but for the most part, it's all just regular old armor. It's not posted on the workshop, still sitting in purgatory because it hasn't actually been used in survival, and that's the rule. You know, we gotta test it, we gotta make sure, you know, it's an iteration on the other one that has been tested, so it's just I need to clean up the blueprint is all, and that's why that one's sitting here. And this is one I found in another save when I was looking for something else. This is kind of garbage. It was kind of built very ad hoc, but I was pulling it because I was trying to look at something that I was like, what did I do here? Kind of one of those situations. So anyway, top of that, so like I said, that was earlier in the week that I did that one. Like I said, it's called the Maximum Effort. Hopefully we'll get it in the workshop soon. In part of the space station testing that I was doing this week, which I didn't do a whole lot because I kind of got busy with some other stuff, but particularly today. By the way, tax day is Tuesday, so if you haven't got your taxes done in the US, you want to get on that. That was today's fiasco. Yesterday was mostly just goofing around with this stuff, particularly this one. So this is, as I've talked about before, this is the Parvis series. This one hasn't been tested. This has now been tested. It still probably needs another round of iteration yet. It works. I had to change around this gun arrangement, and I still am. This is why it's kind of still in iteration, because because it's small grid attached to a large grid and it's a subgrid, it doesn't print with this. I mean, you can copy paste it in from the blueprint, but it won't print this way. And plus, if you get any damage into these, they won't. If any of the guns get shot completely off, they won't get repaired, or you won't be able to repair them unless you just memorize where they're at. So I'm trying to figure out a solution of how to be able to fully print this thing with those included, which involves getting, well, not fully printed, but basically placing a strategy for placing a projector in that small grid space there that can, so you can reprint those out either separately and attach them in by a robot or on the grid itself. This one hasn't been tested. This is the heavy weapons one fighter. So you have the light weapons fighter, the heavy weapons fighter. This is the one that I spent probably a good portion of yesterday testing and redoing. This is, I had to redesign it, and because I was like, there's got to be a way. I did one design and it went horribly, and so I redesigned it. This is actually a jump ship. There is a jump drive in that bad boy, and 2 reactors. This is I'm actually pretty happy how this turned out. So see, there's a whole jump drive in this, and you have a cargo access here. This also has been, because it was post-release, what helped the rework was the fact that we get some of the new parts that were released on Thursday. One of them being the full block vent fan, which is amazeballs. I use the shit out of this thing now. I'm not kidding. But the usual kind of berthing that's not required, but survival kit, the bare minimums. This is basically my smuggler ship, man, because it's very so how you don't even need a jetpack. You go into a station, you get a hauling mission, you come down here, you can just drop down, but if you need to get back up, you just grab the ladder and hit spacebar and boom, you're up. So this has a grav generator in it. it has a hydrogen engine in it. It has, I think, two hydrogen tanks. Yes, two hydrogen tanks plus an oxygen tank for long hauls. It has two reactors. This thing tested, you can jump upwards if you have enough uranium. You can jump continuously 6 times, possibly 7. But you can do 11 jumps, minus waiting because there's only one jump drive. You gotta wait the 7 minutes in between. So if you're doing a hauling contract that's got like 28,000 kilometers that you have to travel, and you only got like 3 hours to do it, this one will get it done. And it's compact. Like, I was really amazed I could keep it into the Parva scheme. It is 9 blocks long, it's 3 blocks tall, and 5 blocks wide. You can literally pull this into the station, but I've been modifying all my Parva stuff to actually connect to, so that they're universally connecting to all of the spawned NPC stations. So the doors are over this. This is the only one where you can't actually get into it from ground level, but it, you know, so it's the one that you'll have to have a jetpack or be able to. But the connectors are right near the ground, so if you don't have hydrogen, you can just connect into the ship and get some, hopefully, or at least figure it out. This is as you know, like as we talked about last week, there's the transport version that is associated with the Anasadora, which is what I always call the transport one. Version of this is the and I didn't put it back in, the transport of these ships, F10, that's what it says, fighter. So the Mark 1s are always the just Atmo only. I think that one's, yeah, I think that's the only Atmo. Because it was the original idea behind the whole design was, I need to post this in and do the mods on this. This one is slightly different because of the problem with Atmo thrusters, and so it needs to be redesigned. And this is more of like in the Gyna gunship vein, but the idea is the transports would be the foundational piece. So you can go in and then you can just basically cut out the guts and reformat things however you see fit. If you wanted to make into an Explorer or Escape Pod or whatever, you can do that. The one that's on the Anasadora is like the hydrogen based version of it. And then, so what this one is the ion version, the ion only version. And it's coming together nicely. I still haven't quite figured out the color scheme, but again, with the transport ones, why they're the kind of the foundation ones is you'll see it's like there's a lot of open space here. And with like cutting out a few blocks, you can rejigger the whole thing to however you want it to be. I'm already making use of the new panels, which I'm loving the fact that we can cover up those ports. This gets really highlighted in this new one so I never liked the original Clave ships that I made. I really like this one, and it's really turning out well. This one will get tested early and will probably hit the workshop very soon. I'm going with a very kind of Star Wars Lucas over-greebled because the new the new release really makes it, well, now granted the armor skin that's used here is the sci-fi one mixed with the Sparks of the Future one. But what we're talking about here is we got signs in the new release. So you have like, this is an airlock, so we got on here sign for storage area, you know, and so off to the left here we have the berthing here, got a sign here, explosive danger. You got the bathroom. I thought it was ironic to put it next to the bathroom even though it's for the hydrogen tank. It's fun. So we have our usual. That axis is there purposely because for the kitchen and what have you, but like this is the best part of like the new one. So this is the new inlet light here, and this makes it because our inset, because that's a whole block, and your first glance you're like, well, why would I ever use this block? I can put a light anywhere. This is a prime example. I've got the full block fan here, which is amazing because it acts as a basically takes a conveyor junction and puts a fan on one side, which means you can use it as a conveyor junction and as a vent. It's amazeballs. But then I can have my rack here and my lockers here and the light here, and there's only one block, which is these lockers, that's taking up the space. Everything else is one block over, and works out really well. New panels. So we're doing really great with Be Able Agreeable. On top of the fact that we have these new panels, which I've showed kind of one before, but like this one, you have access to. This is so much better than just having this stupid little thing here. You can now, and you close it and go away. It's rad. You can get in here and get this and start working with whatever you need to, and then you can just close it and it's gone. Gorgeous. Same thing with this one. This one has, this version has, so this is 3 of 4 different versions. There's one version I haven't used yet in here. But you can, you know, we have control panel here. This is like a single button one. This is into my emergency power off button. So when you select this, it shuts down the whole thing. In fact, actually I have to go over to control panel because I can't even get out of the room if I don't turn the batteries back on. So it's like emergency power shut off. Medical room sign, medical room. And by the way, yes, this is a completely workable thing to do if you want to save space. Another vent. This third one I was kind of showing earlier, but here's another look. So you can cover up that port to the hydrogen and close it, and it's now hidden, and everything looks a lot cleaner. Super good. But though, and you've seen this stuff as usual, but here is the new program block skin. It looks so much better. It is so much better, and adds a new functionality that like one of this is that I need. This is like, so a lot of times when you're trying to do air tightness, you're trying to keep a space open, but you need to block out like 2 things, and a lot of times what we do is like weird things with passages like right here. This makes it, and like the regular computer block in the past was just basically a block taking up a block of space. Now this makes it so that we get access, and to utilize that I put in a little hidden compartment here, so you can, like, let's say you're being boarded, you can go in here and hide, and then you can actually, you know, hit this little control panel and access stuff as need be. When they're gone, you can get back out. And this ship also allows for you to be able to get in and out when it's landed from the ground. So, same ladder trick. But then when you're docked up, say, to a spaceport, just use the airlock. That's why there's not an airlock on the other one, is there's no need, because it's like you'd only be using the ground one if you were on the ground, so there would either be an atmosphere or what have you. But these here are the back sides of the inset lights. Fantastic little kind of greebling, so you even may want to even just use those blocks, even if you're not even using the light, just to kind of get that new kind of like greebled skin and what have you. So yeah, this one's coming together very nicely, and it flies well too, because it has it can hold a decent amount of cargo. It's got 6 downward hydrogen thrusters, which means that this has a capacity of weight in atmosphere on Earth 660,000 kilograms. This is with a dead weight right now, doesn't have anything on board, it's 276. So you can throw close to 400k of stuff on here, and you can still, you have to, yeah, I mean, I'd say probably about 300k to be safe, but then you can still take off and land in atmosphere. So it's and it's got everything. It's the only thing it doesn't have is onboard refining and assembling, and that's on purpose, because the idea being is that you do that somewhere else. But it does have a survival kit so that you can, you know, you can mine some rock, throw it in there, and use that to build your assembler and, you know, basic refinery. But it has 2 onboard reactors. It has an emergency hydrogen engine on it for power, so a lot of power support on here. Obviously it's hydrogen based. It has 2 O2H2 gens, 2 tanks, which will in space run this for a really long time. We already kind of talked about those, and this is I was like, wow, you know, with the new 2x2 wheel. So this is what the new 2x2 wheel looks like on a rover. It's very cool. So it goes in about a half block in either direction, up, down, left, right. You know, uses the same standard wheel suspension mount, but the clearance off the ground is 1 block, depending on your environment. So, you know, be mindful of that. This is taking, like I said, the Parvis design and just putting wheels on it. There's nothing really special it's done with this. Is literally just, and this is what I'm saying with the Parvis stuff, is you just, the frame itself is fine. All you do is just take the frame and modify it for your purpose, in this case a rover. But we have those covers again, covering our cargo container, making it look very sleek. This is trying to look like it's a kind of combat crew transport. So that's the conveyor cap right there. So there was hope that there would be an interactive one that where you could actually do something with a lever. There isn't one, at least yet, but it takes up the same space as the one access panel. So if you want to have it so that it's accessible, you can just use that one. But there's no reason that you need to get behind that. So the cap is just fine. It just covers up that ugly yellow junction block, you know. So that's cool. So a lot of the decorative stuff was implemented, at least in a lot of these things. Like I said, I showed a lot of that there. So yeah, nothing really done with the station. Did some like I said, most of my proofing was done this week on this bad boy, to redesign of this jump ship. Just super happy about getting a jump ship that's this small. I just thought that was the bee's knees. Oh, that's another thing. That's the light armor panel with the plastic skin. I used a little bit of the plastic skin in here. Not really, doesn't really show up too much in like regular blocks like in here. You'll see it, and yeah, not so much in functional blocks, but armor blocks it will show up pretty well. And it's going to be right about here. So the best thing to do is kind of actually do anything. It doesn't look like it's using it. Yeah, it's selected. Like I said, you don't really see much of a diff here. I saw it kind of really come to life when I was doing, I think it was with these. So it's really just gonna be like, a lot of times it's just blocks that you see. It's got the little nubs in there, and you get in really close on something like this and you can kind of see what it's doing here. It looks like it's, you know, plastic panels covering things with little attachment nubs. I had something I was messing with that really kind of showed it off, but a lot, like I said, a lot of the functional blocks doesn't really do a whole lot. Trying to think if there's anything that maybe it was this one. Yeah, it's usually with the stuff that's got like yeah, there we go. So that's got some distinct angles on it, and then you start to kind of see it kind of come together. Jesus criminy. Sorry, my phone just went off and I just want to make sure it's not anything emergent. And the other one, I think you know what? I think I remember what it was. I was checking stuff out because we find that we get the most interesting stuff in the heavy armor range. I think that's where it was. Yeah. So when you're doing the heavy armor stuff, that's when you really start to kind of, yeah. See, that's when I was seeing some really cool kind of, you know, articulation to things. Yeah, that was the other thing is it didn't show up on that one. Oh. You see it in the preview, but it's not actually showing up here. Let's see. Yeah. So there will be a little bit of pattern that'll show up on it. At least with the heavy, I mean, it's like the regular's been kind of boring, but it'll do certain things, and I think it's very dependent on what kind of color you use, like you know, so it might make it a little, so it's something to what I do whenever I'm building something and I'm trying to figure out a skin, is I usually, particularly with if there's a block already that I'm planning on using, I will just hold it up, go hit P, you know, and literally play around with stuff and change it until I saw something that I wanted that looked cool. Alright, enough of this tomfoolery. Yeah, so that's this week's bit of showcase section. Like I said, I'm hoping to get stuff ready for workshop availability soon. Alright, let's get back to our work, what we've been doing. Let me put you into, be right back. Yay for load screens. Yay. I had a lot of red meat yesterday, which is a really bad idea because it really makes me perclept, I guess is the term for it. Even more so than I was kind of last week, and with it being spring and all. So that's always been fun. All right, we're hot. So, back to active. Back to active. So I was a little overzealous last week. Like I said, I was gonna let it run a little bit so that you didn't have to sit through all the welding, and so I did. I let it sit through, and it did all of the welding. It welded up the whole thing, and so as you saw in the previous thing, it's basically donesies. Interestingly, I didn't have to actually go mine anything to get it finished out. Had enough material that we did on stream last week, but geez, Pete's crackly voice all day today. I'm sorry. But what we want to do is we're gonna do what we're gonna do this week is we need to. So part of the point of building this is that so we can take out the observer and research base, and I can tell you that observers, once we get close, it's gonna start sending stuff, and just this rover ain't gonna be enough. We're gonna need a fighter to go with it. But we need to finish this too, because this isn't the done state. This is the almost done state. We have to build the drill that goes in here. There's some rework because of the thing I said last week. Actually, I think I did it already, which is to finish these blocks out because they weren't in the blueprint. But we do want to change these blocks out to the heavy armor. And while it's sitting here, we want to try to be getting as much charge as we can going on that. So we're going to want to put some, there's our landing pad on here. But we want to get some power tower action going on here. Actually, I think, is this dead? It shouldn't be dead. Oh no, it's off. It's because I forgot. That's actually the ejector for the drill. And these doors are off on purpose so that you don't accidentally go out them because they're not airlocked and depressurize the inside. Because we're tight inside here. That's the other thing, we're going to want to start moving our materials on board. Actually, I think I did move, yeah, I think I moved all the materials on board because I'm seeing the construction phone and stuff like that. We've got our gravel, irons, nickel, cobalt. But we definitely want to get some of that. Well, let's first get the power going, because that's gonna take the most time. Tank oxygen. Do we have any? No. Say I don't even know if I put any ice in this thing. I did. Let's see. Tanks. Oxygen tank. Auto refill. It's on. Hydrogen tanks are off. That's fine. Oh no, we don't want those. Let's get the OTH2 gens are on. So now that I turn the oxygen tank on, now it's on. I looked at the on button, I didn't use it. So okay, the auto refill's on there, so we can go in here and tank, and we can fill this. I want to wait on the hydrogen ones because I want to make sure that I have the oxygen. Oxygen way more important than the hydrogen. We can get around the hydrogen. I can just throw a hydrogen bottle in the O2H2 gens. All right. God damn it! Get distracted with O2, and I need focus. Let's start with this, like we do all the time. Let's take full load of, so whatever your inventory is set to, full load of the interior plates. We're gonna go up to a high point here. Now, if this was in, if this wasn't still bolted to the ground for the projection, which we should actually, I should take this off of there at some point. So, because I'm projection complete. So what we're gonna do is we want to keep this out of the way. This channel we're probably may not use. This is actually for climbing. We put a series of pistons in here that go, and what we can do is actually extend it out, and it's got a little foot on the end, and we extend it out, and then we use pistons to pull this up hills. But hopefully we won't need that functionality. Okay, let's see. Yeah, so let's just do, we're already pretty high up, so, oh, that's right, we've got bobs on this. And go for 9, get that little bad mommy jamma, and then back to 31. And then we're gonna this, I might not needed to have the whole big thing, because usually it's use that to weld as much as you can of that, and then you just get the parts for the wind turbines. Alright, that should be producing just nicely for us. Getting some power going there. I must have spent some time and made some of the material. Are we? I don't know. I think I was generating a lot of material while I was building it, and it just, because as while I was building, it was like Bob was doing the welding and I was just making sure I was feeding him as much material as possible. Alright, let's see what's going on with this. Rotor lock off. That should get that to go back to its rusting point. So we're good there. So like I was saying with in the previous thing, this one is offset. Speaking
fuel critical.
Yeah, this one is offset compared to the new one that I built that's not offset. Oh, I can't remember, I did such a good hiding all the like cargo access points, I couldn't find the cargo access point. So a design feature, and I think I may have mentioned this before, but when you build big like elements like this, like base, you know, like let's say you build a base, you know, a big base, but particularly when you have like a big ship or a big rover, one of the things that I do and I recommend for other people is you set up these freight crates, 2 of them, and what you want to put in here is like, and you want to put it someplace that's really internal and really out of the way in case you're like attacked massively, or you crash it, you know, like on a rover, and you crash it down a hill, like didn't see a hill and then you crash it completely in such a fashion that is so detrimental that you wreck your refinery and your assembler, and you don't have them. You need a way to basically put those together, and particularly in here because I don't have a survival kit, I just have a med bay, and you can't do med bays don't do the same thing that survival kits do. You can't use a med bay as a to convert stone into material. So what I do is I take and I grab the parts for a basic assembler and a basic refinery, and I put them in this container. So get a basic assembler, so we can see in our little helper menu on our right side, and then I'll just go in here and middle click and pull all the parts for that. I don't have to weld it. All I have to do is I'll go over here into this box and put that. Oh man, it's pulled the parts for like whatever I had in my G menu. Another way you can do this is this way, which is you could search and you can go assembler and take this and just put it in there. And you can throw extra parts in there too. So I'll put these here so I make sure I have the right amount, and then center click on that. Now we have them. So in here, we're just gonna toss those in. Now we can just do the same thing. Let's try it with the basic refinery. See if this works right this time, since we know our G menu is empty this time. So we go to, and we select up our basic refinery, make sure that we're highlighting there, center click, and now we're withdrawn. And you'll notice they're color coded. You'll notice that my assembler is green, my refineries are red. I put the assembler parts in the green container, I put the refinery parts in the red container. So if I need to emergency put that stuff together, I have that stuff. That way it's out of sight, out of mind, and you don't have to worry about like the Bob taking the parts you need as a backup plan. You don't have to worry about, like, you know, if you lose your, because I've had a situation where it's like I've lost the cargo container that has the components. Like, I had a bad bump, I took out the cargo container, which I think is this one, which is 2. Yeah, that's got damaged, so you couldn't pull any parts out of that. And then, so I had the raw material, and then the assembler was damaged, and, you know, so it's just like I could refine stuff, or I could just literally go to my emergency kit over here, grab the parts, throw that down just right here, build the parts that I needed to repair the thing, take it apart and put the parts back. So, all right, now the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna get this off of, actually, do I want to do the drills first? The reason why I'm asking is we need to know if we have the clearance to build the drills. So here's our channel. Is there anything in the way? It doesn't look like it, so we can do that right from here. So let's work on our drills. We just need to get starter parts since we're running a Bob. We just grab our starter parts. We'll need some of these. It should do it. Don't really need a whole lot else. Not like we're putting in a window. So I'll generally avoid trying to use the doors so that I can save some of the, I don't have a whole lot of, until these drills are set up, I don't have a whole lot of ice, so every time I open and close a door, I'm burning up ice and like when I'm not using a door that's airlocked. So, all right, I want to, yeah, I think I'll stick with that color. So first thing we're gonna do is one of these, and then the next thing we're gonna do is a piston. Might be in the way, or it's just, let's reverse this. So this might be the thing that's in the way. either I'm in the way or because there's a lot of blocks in here and it will have issue with the collision. It'll think that there's things that are colliding. Yeah, that's what it was. I was thinking there was things that were colliding that actually are not. Now, before we go any farther, we're going to have to wait for Bob to weld this up because we need to extend it. Well, we don't necessarily need to extend it, but it's easier to see what we're doing when it's extended. I can put this here.
Energy low.
And we're going to do that there and that there. And I'm going here and reverse that. That's reversing. The only thing we're going to do is place, and do this just as a helping measure. I will place I may. Where did I stick it? Oh no! It's not in 6, it's not in 7. Must have swapped it out with something. I'll put a blast door block in here. And this is just so that when it's down, the pistons, when they're folded up, don't bang up against each other. So we'll add our 3 other pistons. Come on. Pretend like you know what you're doing. So you notice I'm swiveling them even though they're in place, and it's because I like having the control, the little control panels on the same side, so they're all uniform. Partially OCD, but the other fact is that when you have problems and it's like a downstate and I'm walking across them and I need to get into them, it's when they're all in one line, it's easier to make adjustments to them and fix them. Dang it, I knew I'd placed that block wrong. Actually, that should be okay. That should be fine. Alright. We need to, and this is easier with this reversed, so we're going to reverse that. So what you'll be able to see is this will stow right into that channel right there, and it's nice and out of the way. We'll lock the rotor when we're traveling so that way it doesn't bounce. It's important to lock that rotor. If you don't, I've been driving this rover and I didn't lock that rotor, and I knew it because all of a sudden the drill just pops right up. So these cryo chambers charge you at the same rate as if you were to sit in a chair. Obviously, going to a med bay is the quickest, but the med bay is on the other side of the ship. So that's the closest equivalent. The advantage of them, even though it's the same as sitting in a couch or a chair, the advantage with those is that you get your oxygen and hydrogen in your chute recharged, so you're not completely going off your batteries. Right now this is a place we can kind of see what we need to do. So the first thing we need to do is put one of these in, and conveyor tube. Now we're going to put in a hinge, and I'm going to do this with the hinge with the slot, that white slot that you see in the roundy part on the top. Should be the right orientation. And then we're going to wait for that to weld. We don't want to do anything right now, because what will happen is if we do anything before it's fully welded, it will slide right down and it'll make it really hard to work. We want it to be stretching out this way while we're working. So the next thing we're going to do is add a advanced rotor. And we can do this part We'll just wait for it to load up. And reason being is that way that's locked. So that when I put the drills on, it doesn't swivel, because we want it to stay straight while we do this part. So, and then we just add our drills. 1, 2, 3. So this is definitely the stow and go drill setup. Granted, the downside is it only drills down 40 meters. So 1 piston up, 3 pistons down, and when you reverse them, you'll get a 40 meter down. So if you have ores that's in excess of 40 meters, you're gonna have to do something else. And I don't set up residency. If it's something where I gotta go deeper, then I get the minimum amount of whatever I need out of it, and then I move on. Alright, that's all together. Now, what we're gonna do is get everything set up in the dashboard, as it were. We can actually drop this material off. I was talking about like how you have the backup setup of the refinery and the assembler, but it's very rare that those actually get damaged. They're centralized in the system, so it really doesn't happen so much. So, quick touch on what's going on in these displays here. So this display is just using the M-Master's automatic LCD script. But what it's doing is it's using, if we go into custom data, which we've seen how we set it up before, it's using the property booleans to determine whether the state of stuff, and it's why it's got the 2 lines that says no blocks found. This is because we haven't actually configured those blocks yet. And so one of the things that we want to do is actually go in here, and so the MO rover, which is the shorthand for this rover, go in here and we need to name the hinge this. So we're just going to copy that. And the drill head rotor the same, so we won't worry about that right now. We'll just do hinge and go in here and just add that in there. We're gonna add the shear inertia tensor because it's discolored, so we know it's a subgrid. One of the things that we're going to do, and it's easier to do it from the outside, especially since we're running Build Vision, is we're going to cycle the rotor and set the limits on there, because we don't want it, we want it to maximum be this, but we want it to be able to go fold down too. So we want to be able to just push a button. So I'm gonna go in, and what I'm gonna do is, so just kind of go over this again. This is like holding down the control. I'm gonna scroll up on my scroll wheel and then release the control. Now I can move around the wheel. Go to velocity, and I'm just kick it a little bit. And we see that it's me going up at 0.1 RPM, it's going down, so it's doing what I want it to do. So we're gonna leave that upper limit alone, and we're gonna change this lower limit to 0. That's gonna be our when we're drilling position, and the 90 is going to be our stowed position. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to back this off like 2 to 88, and I'm going to change this velocity. I'm going to crank this up to probably 0.5, just so I don't have to wait that long for it to stow. And that should be all good. Now the base hinge is already labeled properly because it's part of the grid, so I don't have to relabel that, but I will have to relabel the drills, the pistons, and this one here, this is the drill head rotor, and this is what swivels when we're when we're drilling down, so that we can get more material with less drill action. You can run it just flat, just do straight, like say what I've done in the past is, let's say I'm just doing I'm just drilling ice and I don't need a whole lot. I'll just run it because straight, it's not a big deal. But this is the reason why there's a 1 block separation between the bottom piston and the top piston. It's actually so I can make sure that it clears the rover when it's rotating. Okay, so let's actually we can probably do it right here. Well, it's gonna be easier if I do it actually from the control room, because I have to have the, it will work better if the drill head rotor matches what's on the display. And that's from here. Oops, that's not the door I wanted. I forget when this isn't centrally located. You can only, the way that this one is set up, you can only really access it from the side. Okay, so now we can see at the top, drill head hinge lock is set to unlock, base rotor is set to unlock, and that's important because we don't want to be trying to move these with the hinge lock and the rotor lock set. So the third one, K, so go into the front, I'm gonna find this, and the label is this one, so that's what we're gonna call it. I'm just gonna copy that, and then we're gonna go rotor, and it's gonna be this one because these two have already been labeled that, set that, and that's all it has. That one just rotates, so it's all good. We don't have to do any setup to it. So we're good there. Now this one is using actually the a piston tracking script that is running on this block here. So this is running, oh, and I didn't add a mod this week. There was one I was gonna add. It was the lights. I think it was the lights. Let me check. I don't think I already have the lights in here. Yep, I don't have lights in here. Okay, so we're gonna pause for a hot second because I've got to add this week's mod, which was the light bars that I was talking about earlier. So let's go back into the be right back screen while I actually I can do this live. Let's go back to active. I'm gonna save this. I'm gonna edit settings. Go to our handy dandy mod list, and the mod we're doing this week is the MA. I think it's light. Yes, MI Spotlight Pack, and we can take a look at this. Here is it in the workshop. These are the lights that come with it. As you can see, it's provided by AutoMcDonough. Link will be into the credits for the YouTube video. And that's the mod we're at. So let's get out of there. Slide that bad boy over. Hit OK. Hit OK. Okay. And we're gonna load us back up. This loads in a few different lights. What's so great about these is they're way better than the vanilla lights, and we'll see that in a minute. One of them being is because they do things that the other lights don't do. One is my favorite, which is the triple light bar, which is what we use on the front of this, but it also has 30 and 45 degree lights, which are really cool, which we also use in this. We'll see as soon as this stupid ass load screen loads. There we are. All right, so now that's in, and our blueprint should be already displaying these, I believe. Yep, so there they are. So these are the 30-degree ones, and they basically, and here are the light bar ones, the triple light bars. This makes it a lot easier to see with the real skybox lighting that we're using. In fact, when adding the real skybox, you need to add these lights along with them, or some form of long-range lights. The vanilla ones start to fall off in their capability. So we'll let Bob weld those up. We'll go back inside here. Now, like I said, is that we're running, this is running the piston and rotor status by DF Percush. Better way to look at that is probably this one. See if I can find it. This one right here. Open in workshop. This is it right here. DF Percush. It's script, and it's a really simple, easy to use script. The great part about it is that what I like about it, it's not real hard. Put up an LCD panel, and then you put the name of the LCD panel and the custom data of this block. So in this block here, this program block, we have in the custom data the name of the display that's up over here. And then in this display, in its custom data, or actually it's in the, when we set it up, in the text, all we do is the text field, we add the name of the thing that we want to track. So if we were to do this and go to edit text, we just add this in here, and then it appends the status. So these are the names of the pistons that we're going to use. So I just copy that, and we're just going to go through and label all those pistons. Actually, we should probably just, I can't use this door because the pistons are too close on this side. Like I said, this one's not centered properly. Might need to make an adjustment to that rotor. Fix it. It's pretty centered. So, like I said, when I built the pistons, and that way I know where these are at, I put that there. This one, yeah, I think these all get it. So what we're going to do is change this velocity to that. We'll just keep everything the same. Actually, is it point? Yes, 0.1. Having a moment. All right, and then these ones, this is going to be down 1. Okay, so it's just down 1. Down 2, and these all relate to what's in that panel. Down 3. Might be, actually I think that's too fast because I think I've been doing negative 0.01. Let's do that. I think it's 0.4. I'm having that moment where is it 0.4 or 0.04? I think it's 0.4 is the max speed I want to do. All right, so our drill rig is ready. And before we do anything crazy, let's go back to our room here. And so now you see that once I have those in there, you see equal sign showed up afterwards, and 10 being 10 meters, so the up one is all the way up and the 3 down ones are all the way down at 0, and it will update with the status of the position of those pistons as we run them. And we can see that all of our stuff is unlocked. What I'm going to do is, so I never change these panels out, so this is the rotor lock for that. It's reverse, reverse, hinge lock, reverse, 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 reverse. So these probably aren't actually set up. So yeah, that's the base. So I want this to be hinge lock, hinge reverse. So that should be hinge lock, and that should show now locked. And then these are going to be, I think these were, see if this still shows it. Up piston, down 1, down 2, down 3. Like I said, the newer one I've put in like other displays so that they're easier to read instead of having to just highlight over the button to get what it is. And this one should have, yes, drill pistons and up reverse and rotor lock. So yeah, first one's gonna be, oh, I forgot to actually set that up. So I go to drill, I can copy this name. Group our drills together and call this the drill head. Alright, so this is gonna be the switch that handles that. So group or drill head on off. And I got them swapped around. I guess it wants to be there, so we'll put it there. So this is gonna be the rotor lock for the drill head. Drill head rotor. Antenna rotor. Oh yeah, I know what that is. Okay. Drill head rotor. We're gonna have the rotor lock on and off, and I think we had it as on and off. What was that? Oh, the drill piston up? That's sounds crazy to me. Let's get rid of that. I need a velocity control, and I don't think I ever put one in. It was my intention, and I never did it. Oh well. It's fine. Actually, what I should do is... Nah, I'm gonna change it now. Let's get this broke apart first. Alright, let's head up front, see how we're doing. Actually, go to our power panel here. And our solars are doing okay. We're doing 140K on the solars. The turbines are doing great. We're getting 1.7 megawatts, and so we're getting some juice into the batteries, and that's what we're looking for. The great thing about the solars, and this is the reason, so yes, solars do not produce squat for power. But what they do, yeah, and they only produce it half the day because they don't work at night. But what they do, I always hate saying do, but it fits, is that when I disconnect this, the solar panels will still work. Those wind turbines will stop. So before I drop this, I need to check where my wheels are at, because I don't want to explode them. It's okay. Don't care about that. So these are a little sus. Let's see. Strength is at 20 right now. 10 on center. 20 on front. 6 on the outside. That's about right. And the reason why this is set up the way that it is the outside wheels, so kind of like walk through what's going on with the wheel setup on here. Again, it's more of a wasted space kind of a thing. So these 4 front tires are on a separate group so that I can adjust the stiffness of them. And I keep them relatively stiff because they are the ones that run into stuff. They run into stuff first. So I want the suspension a little bit stiffer so that they can take it. I want these center ones here to do no matter what to make contact, because if I'm going through a valley or something like that, or a ditch or something like that, I want those. But I want these ones to be really, really soft. These outside ones, these outside 4 on either side, be really soft so that they actually will push up and maintain contact. So if they were all at the same tension, what could happen is that these outside wheels are the only ones touching, making these really soft, make it so that they will articulate a little bit on the terrain, but we should be good to go. Let's hope that we don't break a whole lot of stuff. Actually, we need to check the rotor locks. If you don't have the rotors locked when you do this, they can fling all over the place and stuff could break. I don't want to use that door. I don't want to go there. I haven't been in this rover in a long time. You can tell I'm walking around. You always know when something's big when you keep getting lost in your own design. Alright, so we need to lock that, and I've set that up on that one. Nope, that turned it on. That's the lock. Okay, they're all locked. Well, at least now the drills are working. Alright, so there's that. And yeah, this is all messed up. That'll have to get fixed, but that's not a big deal. We'll worry about that when we start drilling. Alright. And all of our new mod lights are in place. Super happy. We'll really see the effect of it. I can turn them on now, but I don't really want to show it until we actually get into the dark. Alright. So what's the best way to drop this bad mamma jamma that's not going to crush a bunch of things? First thing is we're going to lose these blocks, because this should be connected on that connector. Oh, let's check the brakes. Handbrake, eh? Does not roll back and kill us. Handbrake is now on. That was a good call. Way to go, past me. Thinking ahead. This is going to seem weird, but I think the better way is to actually grind this part here. That'll make it drop, but give it some space. Because if I try to grind these, I gotta grind them in a rate fast enough so that this doesn't bang into it. Where it's just like, it's better to just get rid of this and put it back in place.
Fuel low.
Oh, and it's sticking into the thing, and I need to get up here. armor
Fuel
jetpack.
critical.
Yay! So what's happening is I did that, and might be able to actually do something different. Oh no, it's flaking out. So what we're gonna do is go into here, info, convert to ship. And she dropped, no problem.
Fuel critical.
Yeah. That's not what I want. This is what I want. Ah! Somehow I ended up accidentally opening my helmet during all that. So let's lose this. We don't need the blueprint anymore. Take this off.
Inventory full.
So now we should be able to, because this grid has it. We'll want to make sure to turn the bobs off first, because we might have to line it. But this rover has its own projector. Alright, turn that on, and the bob turn off. Should be, it looks like it's already aligned. So that seems okay. Yes, sir. Nice. Blocks are still in the way, so I'll just put these parts in here for now. That's why Bob didn't start welding it right away. This battery's dead anyway, so. So just go in here. Here, wait. Oh, love of all things. Bob, take care of my light work. Now the question I had was whether or not we wanted to. So we don't need this anymore, but the battery's probably fully charged. Fully charged. But it's got 1.8. I think what we'll do is we'll just leave this in place. But what we'll do is we'll put this back on board the ship, since we won't be needing it anymore. Batteries are on 95%. Wheels on. Did I have to do a camera facing up on this thing? I think so. Let's see where I need to be. Need to come a little bit forward. Front clear. That looks like it should clear. Left to right. That looks like that should clear. Turn that off. And these off. Actually, turn the batteries off as well, so it doesn't run out of juice. Okay, let's see. What do we got? We'll leave the ramp down, so we're not leaving, we're just switch lock, hangar door, switch lock. Right. Goober, did you put in something to control the vents? Ah! Nope. Fine, we'll do it the old-fashioned way. Open up the doors. Alright, now, should work like last time. Should be a reverse of a piston. Lock, lock, and reverse. We should be able to pull this right back up like a glove. And so we don't get any kind of weird craziness, let's turn this on and we'll cat singing the song of his people. Is that the right way? Doesn't look like it. I think this is the way that needs to go. Yeah, there we are. Now they're not potentially causing clang. Chain on either side, so we look good there. We be all set. So that's cleared out of the way. Don't have to worry about that for a bit. And this should defend itself. Should, if anything should come up. She's got guns, so. Alright, the next thing we need to do is we need to get this back to charging on more than just solar, because we're not going to get very far with it where it is. But what I want to do is move it a little bit forward and grab some ice. So we can start getting hydrogen on board so we can run the hydrogen engine, because that'll charge us much faster. So. Yeah, so let's turn those on, move forward. Oh, we didn't set up the drilling jacks. We set up the drills, we didn't set up the jacks. Woo. Okay, there's that. So let's get that landing gear set up. Standard landing gear package, which is going to be our 176. Actually, I think it's 175. I need actually more than that. Cancel. Let's okay, one back, and we need 20. That's not a 2. 20 and 6. The key here is the 6 and the 20 because they the 175 is the landing gear plus a block, which I think we might need 2. I'm not sure. Let's go this way. So much like the other ship, what we want to do is in the center. We don't want to leave it. It's just for when you want to charge it. We put in a block, which I think it's 2. Thanks, Bob. Oh, no, it's gonna be 1. No, it's let's do this 2. Come on. Need to lift it up. So we're going to look at the fronts here. Oh, we need to get all of the heights up, so we're just gonna, easiest thing to do is just go all suspension here, and we're gonna raise the whole mamma jamma up. Okay. Center. All right. Should have us all the way up. And our landing gear will fit now. What we'll do is leave it in auto lock. We should have hotbar item. To raise and lower the suspension. Yeah, there it is. 8. So we're just gonna slowly drop it down till it locks. Just like that. And you see that our wind turbines kick back on. Now, someday, hopefully they will fix this, but essentially what it is like wind turbines essentially only work on stations or on grids that are locked to the ground. They will not work through subgrids. So even if I was to drop a piston and lock to the ground, they still wouldn't come on. And that's the next thing we're working on is this jack. We're going to work on some. The jacks that we use, which are here, the pistons, but we need the lock plates that go with them. Oops. Put those in place. And this is just so that when we raise this up for when we do drilling operations, that so these pads do 2 things. One is they make it so that the pistons don't run through the voxels, because they will. And 2, they basically stabilize the platform so when you're drilling it doesn't drift and cause your drill, because it will. If it's just sitting on these tires, the drills will actually create enough force on the actual rover to cause it to shift a bit, particularly if it's on any kind of hill. And then what will happen is the drills, the rover itself will start to drift, and the hole is static and will basically start to press on the drills and break them. So we kind of don't want that to happen, so what we do is just lock the rover in place. It also keeps the rover from getting real jittery. All right, so now that we have that, we have our wind turbines working again, solar panels are grabbing sunlight, and I'm gonna keep doing that. Let's start grabbing some ice so we can start getting some hydrogen, so we can start. So I got a little bit of ice, but we could use a lot more. Or hydrogen on. So I'm gonna switch out here so we can actually see better. All right, and we're gonna have to reset our toolbar here because it's all gone away. Let's see how much of it's already still there. Oh, I didn't finish my jack plates. I gotta finish it. I put them in place, but I didn't weld them up and label them. I try to have the plates match the pistons, so it's important to go through. It should be piston 1 and jack 1. This is the most important one. Oh, it's actually FL. Just copy that and we'll go to plate. So that since these are subgrids, they all are the first item on that grid, so they'll all have the same name. So what we do is just go through and we just give them an identifier so we can tell them apart. So now we can use our build info and we can say that's 3. So what we'll do is just go into like 3. We're going to copy the piston that we were on and we're just going to call this jack plate and turn off the auto lock. And we're going to do the same thing here. This is going to be magnetic plate 2 and this is piston bar, so we'll just copy this plate 2, put that in, change piston to plate and turn the auto lock off. This is plate 4. And then the last one, which I could have probably done from there since we know plate 1 is gonna be this one. So. And turn the auto lock off. Now I'm gonna grab all these, make a group called jack plates, save that. Now I'm going to skip the front left one, which is the first one we did. We're gonna grab all these and hide them in the toolbar, hide them in the thing. We'll leave them on. Reason I leave that one, this is because if we have to do any climbing, this is the one that we use to lock with. We don't use all 4, we just use the one, because that way we don't have to try to match the terrain all the time. We only use all 4 when we're drilling. Let's go back up in here. Alright, and so G, this would be my jack plates. Go to groups, go and find my jack plates. Switch lock. There's my rubber jacks. Suspension. Don't know why I have that set up, whatever. That one's good. Not using that one. is my sorter ejector stuff. And I think these are on off, so. That's right, we need to make a group for our drill pistons. Drill. Save that. That's good. Sometimes if you highlight over these, they'll tell you what they were. So that's the drill rotor. Lock and reverse, so the next one's most likely the hinge. So lock and reverse. And we should have a drill head rotor. And that's gonna have increase, decrease velocity, and turning on the lock on and off. And then we're gonna have the group pistons, reverse. So that should set us all up. So let's deploy this. So the first thing we do is turn the locks off. 6. And then we're going to first start the hinge because we want to get the drills out of the way when we extend that. And that's on 4, so we hit that. Let that get a little bit ahead. And then we're going to raise the base. And we're going to turn the drills on. Actually, before we do that, we should actually go and raise. Oh, we can't. We're locked, so we're fine. I forgot about the front landing gear. I was like, oh, we should lock this down. I forgot to lock this down. It's already locked down. We want to turn the drills on because they're actually going to start drilling because this actually goes, when it's in position, is actually a little bit lower than what the rover sits. So as you can see, it's actually drilling into the ground right now. So once that's in place, then we can actually start rotation by just increasing the rotation speed with 8. And then we'll start, once I get a revolution, well, yep, that's too fast. I can just tell you right now it's too fast. I was wrong. This is 0.01. And you guys are negative 0.01. Okay, now let's reverse it. Yeah, that other setting is way too fast. And what will happen is the reason why I do that, and I've mentioned it before, is you get your drills running too fast. They actually smash into the voxel and it'll just damage the drills. It may even not damage the drills, but it'll damage every assembly up there. So like your rotors, your hinge parts, like every joint in here. In fact, actually, because it went so fast, I'm just going through and double checking that I didn't damage anything in doing that. As you can, and next thing you know, you got stone that's collecting up in the drills and it's not getting to. Now we're not going to run the sorter because we can use the material that we get out of it. So everything looks good there. All right. So we should be taking on ice. Let's look at the dashboard. 45. I need to turn on one of the refineries. Let's see. Is that all of them? The gens, hydrogen engines, speed modules. Okay, so we'll turn on refineries. We won't turn on the speed modules. And we'll turn on the H2 gens. Actually, those are already on. We need to turn on the hydrogen tanks. That's what we need. Oxygen tank is full. Hydrogen tanks now filling. Say we're good on iron, nickel, and well, we don't have squat for silicon, so the other things that won't matter so much, but the silicon will be something good to have, so we'll let that run. See how our drilling operation is doing. Broken through the ice, so well, while that's going on, let's I think I have a bob control up front, so let's speed nope, on higher anyway. Thought I'd make my life easier, but I guess I don't believe in that. Said there's a lot of situations where this needs to be upgraded, a little bit of upgrades going on, but as you can see, our script is we can see our drill positions now, and we can see what we're taking on board. We can see how much cargo is being used, so we know if we keep running these drills, we don't want to make sure we don't want to empty, like completely fill out our cargo, and so so this is a good drill status room. And there's our bob right there, so let's go over here. We're gonna turn you off temporarily, because next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna work on a fighter to deal with those bases. And I'm gonna do a simple fighter, but I'm gonna actually do it by hand, and I'm gonna explain some of the mechanics of it, because I was realizing I may have touched on it a little bit, but I think that this is something good, because the whole point of this is actually kind of explaining, some of the things that I've learned from SE, and the best way to do that is to explain what I'm doing and why I'm doing it with the build. So we're gonna grab some of our starter parts as per usual. I'm gonna make some more of those interior plates. Running a little low on them bad boys. So probably hit another one of those. And some more of those. Good on those. Probably a couple more of those. So usually before the end of the day, before I log off, I always make sure I check my inventory and order up what I need printed to kind of get it relatively in the right window of where I keep things. Didn't do that last week because I was already running a bit over anyway, so that's good. That's good. Okay. And while we're trying to take on power, I'm using a lot of power, but I didn't put any speed to it. And let's see how we're doing. Output is 1 point, input is 1.7, so we're slacking a bit here. Be okay once the assembler's done. check the batteries. Batty, just like me. Okay. Yeah, we're running a little lean, actually. So once the hydrogen tanks, also once they're filled, I can actually start the motor, and then we'll be back to charge positive. It's getting dark out, so we can actually see how our lights are doing. So we have the, actually let's make sure all the lights are on. I was noticing that there were some that were off. Exterior lights. There we go. Alright, so the side ones, they light pretty much the same as a regular spotlight, but they're on a 30-degree angle so that we get a good view to the side. And then, and also in the back. And then there's this one here, right here, that's highlighting where our hole's being dug, for the most part. So that's how, actually, what I use for aiming the drill, is that light. We can see that our front lights, they're throwing a pretty wide spread, and it makes it so we can see real easy when it's dark out. And then we also have what I call the ground effect lighting, which is basically the undercarriage lighting, because when you're running and you hit something and you got to inspect to see what's broke and stuff like that, you got to be able to see what you can do, what's broke. So okay, so best place for us to build gonna be up here, actually, where the fighter is actually going to be. And we have our starter parts, and we've shut off the bob so that it doesn't try to build stuff while we're trying to squirrel stuff around. And so I generally use the landing gear method. There's a new method that I use with large grid, where, so if I was building something that was large grid and say I want to build it up this way, what I would do is I'd place a block, and then I could actually place the landing gear, weld this up and lock it, and then take this block away, because it'll work. Because they don't, connectors no longer need a battery to be powered. Before I'd have to do that same method, but I'd have to like fully build a battery and have, so that there was power to the connector so it'd stay connected. But since we're doing small grid, we're gonna do the landing gear method, and I've gone through this before. We're just gonna put that here and try to float it over top and then drop it and it lock in place. And that's what we're gonna build off of. So what we're gonna do is I'm just gonna build a basic, one of my basic fighters, and I'm gonna explain the I guess the philosophy behind it. So generally speaking, I'll start with whatever is kind of the main purpose of this being a fighter and all. I'm gonna start with actually the cockpit, because I'm gonna use basically the fighter cockpit. So now you can see on here it has the big port on the back, and we're going to want to use that. So we're not going to be carrying a whole lot of cargo, but because this is going to be a hydrogen based fighter, we're going to want some place to put ice and ammo and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to put a medium sized container on this. Actually, are we? No. I think what we're going to do is we're just going to go right straight to a conveyor junction. And this is going to make it so that we can have our connector on the bottom. Now we're going to do the cargo container. And I've fallen and I got a little injured. Should be working from this side, so when I fall off the edge, I don't fall to my doom. Alright. So, like I said, this is hydrogen based, so next thing we're going to want is hydrogen generator. And we're going to marry that up. So this is all working along the line, so like, so with this first one, you notice it's, I put all of the large port pieces there. And I did dig this up. Yep. So, and I'll tell you why. So, why I usually do the cargo container first. Make sure that's centered. And then I do this. Making sure that I keep this. This has one set of small ports on one side. So you see, 4 sides have the large connector, and 2 sides have the small connector. So we want those at the side and know that they're there. And then I'm gonna do the O2H2 gen. Now I can mount it. Options are I can put it on this side where the small ports are and aim it this way. Or I can put it back here. And if I want to do 2, I can do one, you know, farther forward, another one back, you know, yada yada yada. But we only need one. This is a fighter and it's kind of disposable. Now the reason why I knew that I messed up and had to take it back down is because, so yeah, I want the connector here, but what I also want is to be able to put a Gatling turret up here. And a Gatling turret is 5x5 and be able to have access to that large port that's under it needs to go there. But if I had this block where the cargo container was, that wouldn't fit on that connector because it would be running into this cockpit here. So I had to move it back one. But the thing to kind of keep in mind is don't necessarily have to line it up, because the cockpit does have a small port on it in the bottom and in the front, and we do have a small, so there's a way to work around it, and the Gatling turret itself has small ports on the edges. But in the realm of keeping something simple, and I'm gonna have those blocks there anyways, I just needed to change the order around a bit and then I'm fine. So that's the, now we have like the basic idea of what we're doing here. So the thing that I always kind of bitch and moan and complain about, like whiny little person, is that people don't put cameras on their connectors. So I do. Easiest way to do it, just do it. The next thing I'm going to want is a gyro, but I don't want to put it on this cargo container because cargo containers seem to just be like the first thing that fails and stuff. Cockpits, unless you slam directly into something, tend to hold up. But what I'm going to do is actually, I'm going to cover my own ass, as it were, with this. So I'm going to put one here, and I'm going to put one back here. Now you'll notice I'm going to put it, yeah, it's going to go right there. Now it's going to make controlling this a real pain in the ass. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually have both of these, but I'm going to tone down the power like a lot, probably down to minimum 50, maybe even 30%. And the reason I'm going to do that is because, yeah, if I lose the cockpit, I can't steer anyways, but I can put that back in place, but then I don't have to go hunting for it. But what will happen sometimes is that will get shot out from something, and then I lose steering, and when I have 2 of them, that redundancy makes it so that I got a chance. So, and all we're doing is increasing our possibility of having a chance to keep going. So, with the mods that I'm running, I can either do an antenna or a beacon. I'm going to do a beacon because I don't need to control this remotely or control anything remotely. I just need to be able to locate it if I, like, basically get knocked out of it.
So now we have control and steering. We have power. We have thrust, basically gas generation. We're gonna actually need gas tanks, so we're gonna go with these small boys here. And remember, there was small ports there, so we can just put those right on those ports, and they're already patched in, ready to go. While talking about juice, we're gonna need batteries. Because this is hydrogen based, we don't need big batteries. We can get by with these small little ones, because all they're gonna do is basically run the gyros, the guns, and some control stuff. But the thrust that we're gonna be using is not reliant on them. So now all we need to do is have thrust in all directions. So we're gonna just start off with putting these bad boys in place. And realistically, we don't need all of them to be that, but it just makes it easier. This will not have a high PCU problem to deal with. I'll put that one there and that one there, and we're gonna actually this is strictly cosmetic, but I just like them to all kind of have the grid part on that facing the same way, either inside or outside, doesn't really matter. All right, and I generally like having backward facing camera, even though I don't really need it, because usually I need it on drill ships. I don't really need it on fighters, but it comes up sometimes. And I like to see. Okay. There's that. Man, my voice is crushed, man. And the only thing that I did was eat a lot of red meat, which I don't normally do, but when in Rome. Okay, so now thrust in all directions. So we're gonna make this super fast, so we're gonna put 6 back here. Almost off the edge again. We're gonna just put 2 in these directions. And what I'm gonna do is put a curved one facing this way, so that I can get my backing thrusters in place. So same deal here. As long as I have steel plates. How are we doing? That's full. That's got a ways. So, same deal. 2. Then we're gonna do 1 facing this way and 2. Alright, and then we're gonna do 3 across the bottom on either side for lift. So I can stay in the air. Now we just need a little bit of down, because we don't really need it, but if we take this into space, it will become a thing. Actually, that's center. That's not a thing. There we go. So now we got up, down, left, right, forward, and back. 6 directions. So that's forward, that's back, that's up, that's down, that's to the right, even though it's on the left side,
Energy
and
critical.
then that's to the left. Right side. Now I gotta charge my suit. Take a status check the status of what's going on with these drills. Should probably be able to back it off. Yep, drills are all the way, so let's just go and we'll just hit the reverse on the pistons and draw those back out of the hole. Once it's done, we'll release the front landing gear and roll forward a little bit, and we can drill another hole if we want to. Actually, I think that's what we had here was the individuals pistons, because we probably don't need to drill all the way down for the rest. We just need ice, so we don't need to be extending all the way. Wait for that to come out of the hole. Actually, let's stop by this med bay. Cure what ails me, which is falling into the drill arm pit. Alright, so we have the ability to steer, the ability to detect, ability to get it on there. We have thrust, we have juice for the thrusters, we have juice for all the materials, so we're pretty good to go. We just need one of my favorite lines from Police Academy, guns. When do we get guns? So we can do that right now. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put should be able to have a T. That's a there it is. T, we'll stick that here because this cargo container actually has a single port on either side, and we'll just throw some Gatling guns on this one. So now we have guns that we control, and we have the turret that's going to cover, and the whole point of the Gatling turret on top is really just cover our ass. So when we're flying around and if someone gets behind us, that guy's taking care of the stuff that's not in front of us. And we have 4 guns, that's what we're taking care of. So everything after that is pretty much just greebling and making it look good. So when you kind of move the rodeo along, I'll turn the bobs back on. Bob, I have one. Okay. That's what I was doing. Turn Bob on. You can start working on that while I go check to see what the state of the hydrogen tanks are at. Filling. Once they're full, we're gonna kick that hydrogen engine on. Yeah, they're about 50%, so we got a ways to go. Oh, we're out of ice. That's why. It's like our output went down too, and it's because we're out of ice. So the hydrogen, you don't have to worry too much about turning your hydrogen, your O2 H2 gens on and off, because if you notice, our output went down to 951K, and that's because they're not drawing power anymore because they don't have ice, so they're not actually doing anything. So even if I was to turn them off, which is right here, turn them off, it won't change anything. Well, change 2 kilowatts. When they're idle, they'll use 2 kilowatt each. So save a little bit there. So we're back to, you know, being a positive, even though it's dark, because the solar's not doing anything, but the turbines are still kicking some, you know, out 1.6. So we're now back to charging our batteries because the turbines can handle running the refineries and the assembler. Let's check that real quick. Sounds like it might be done. Yep, it's all done. So our parts are available. Let's turn Bob on. Oh, I did. Don't hear nothing. Oh, I've got him in walk only. Fly. There we go. That's the sound we're looking for. So once we have the core in place, it's better to, if you're going to weld by hand, weld it now, because you have access to a lot of things. You don't have to grind too many things away to try to get at it. So this design is very, like I said, it's a simple fighter. It's relatively easy to repair. And if it doesn't take a whole lot of parts, you don't feel bad. You don't have a serious element of mourning when you lose it because someone crashed into you. Gonna get a little loud for a moment. Yeah, so we're just gonna quietly, not intentionally quietly, but quietly weld all this up. So every time I do build this by hand, it ends up, even though it seems like it went all together really quickly, I do in fact actually end up building it slightly different every single time. And what's usually the contributing factor is how much of like how precise I'm being about things. Like I didn't need to put like the full small conveyor here's, you know, I could have changed out those in certain areas, but it's just like, it's just easier. Come together pretty quickly. I think that's everything. So now, next thing we're gonna do, and I have to kind of be flying for this, is that I'm going to put. I need parts. Gonna grab like 5 of those. I don't need 5, but just in case. So what we're gonna do is actually put in, which I need to check, how are we doing on grids? I don't need a whole lot, but I do need some. And I know that cobalt has been a thing, so.
Energy low.
First thing we're gonna do is put in a camera right here. And this is going to be our aiming camera. This is what we're going to use for aiming our guns. Next, we're going to surround that camera in basically heavy armor to hopefully keep it together just a little bit longer, because it having computers, it's the first thing it tends to get shot out. Gee. So, I'm gonna extend this out. Now, the reason why I grabbed that glass is we're going to actually put a glass window here. And that will give us 1 or 2 more shots before they takes out that aiming camera.
Fuel low. Fuel critical.
So we might be out of ice, but the oxygen tank is full, and these hydrogen tanks are partially full. So. I don't necessarily need to have ice at the moment. Alright. So.
Energy critical.
Man, they're just all full of it tonight. Just get done with one thing and you're like, oh, you're out of fuel. Okay, fix that. Alright, now you're out of energy. Now, normally what I do is I work in like white or a light gray, and then I change the color later. I don't usually design in black. As you can see, I can't see what the hell I'm doing. So, but that's all in place. So I just do too much heavy armor and you can't drive it. So I just need heavy armor in the front to just basically hopefully keep the front end to hold up just a little bit longer. Now we need to check on our drills anyway and see what position they're in. If we're ready to move or not. We're almost there. I'm getting real close. Next time we charge our suit, we should be good to go. So, sit down here and watch some TV. So it's important to take breaks on the regular. So, seeing that TV set up to scroll. Nah, it just has the one picture. Let's add some others. See if they put any new ones in here. I don't think they did. Oh, hey, we have Splitsie ones in here. I don't know how that happened, but. Set that to 10. Some of these don't fit with the orientation of the screen, but I just like putting them all in because they're cool. Alright, while we're here, one of the things I need to check is I don't think we have any magnesium. So one of the first things that we're going to have to go at all is to go and find some. We got some silver, which I think I pulled from not going to be able to do much combat with no ammo. Let's see. Do I have a or detector on here? Yes. So it's set to reasonable distance for being on a planet. Let's see. There's cobalt over there, so we'll get our cobalt from there, from behind us. But we'll still need to find some magnesium. Hopefully it's not too deep. Okay. Let's see what's going on with these drills. Okay, they're all the way up. So what I do is I try to catch this rotation. Pretty good. I like it. Start bringing this back in. And we'll lock the spinny one. And that's how we stow that bad boy away. Okay, and that's in, so we'll lock that in that. That's all ready to go. So what I'm going to do is just move this a little bit forward. And we're just going to grab more ice. So first thing I need to do, oops, not turn off the lights. Okay. Landing gear. Take the auto lock off. And unlock it. Handbrake should still be on. We're going to lift this bad boy up a little bit. Take the handbrake off. We're going to move ever so slightly forward so you can see that spot in the back that's telling us where our drills are going to be basically pointing. Give ourselves a little bit of space. Lock it and, set our handbrake as it were. And then we're gonna lower this back down. Actually, where are you? Alright, I'm not gonna spend like 5 hours trying to find the stupid landing gear. Alright, so let's drop this back down until we can lock it. There we go. It's locked and our turbines should come back on. Now, realistically, I want just through that progression, just show you what it is. I don't really need to actually, just going that far, I don't really need to lock. In fact, actually, I don't even need to bring the piston arms down. So I won't do that for future holes. But 6. Oops. Raise this up, get that going a little bit so it doesn't run into each other. Get that going, and I'm going to turn the drills on. Let's lock that and lock that, and we'll start rotating. Now this time we're just going to do the first piston because we don't need to go that deep. We only basically need to go one piston deep because we're only after the ice. We got a butt ton of stone that we don't necessarily need. Interestingly, I mean, I want the silicon, so that's why I'm going ahead and refining it. So if you notice, the where the ejector is, it can roll. If you're ejecting at the same time that you're drilling, you can eject basically into the hole that you're trying to drill in, so it ends up being kind of cyclical. So what I do is normally I don't eject until after I'm done drilling. So I basically put all of the, essentially I'm putting all of the unused material back in the hole I dug. And move my chair around. The base on this thing gets all cattywampus real easy. Alright, so we're getting ice back on board. Yep, getting a little bit here. Want to get those tanks filled and get a little bit of ice going. You know, what we need is an ice deposit. This like surface stuff is not going to get us very far. Well, back to work on this thing. So we got our front end done, and what we're going to do is basically work our way back across this line here. And we don't want to take too much. Actually, while we got it, or while we're getting it, we're going to snake some of this ice. So I'm going to drop these parts first. I don't want to be dumping parts into the fighter. And we're just gonna toss some in here before we have a limited amount of time, because those batteries when they're built only have like a small amount of charge. So we're just gonna throw all this ice in here so we have it, and we're gonna get in this cockpit and turn these thrusters off to burn up all that, because really just want to fill these tanks. Hawkeye saw. What we're gonna do is grable this, and so there is no rhyme or reason, there is no method that I use. It's just literally, and I think I've talked about it before, it's literally just, okay, we're just gonna fill holes. So I build the main body, make sure that I have as much of the functionality that I can first go, and then I'm just gonna add in all of the fill in the holes essentially. That's one of them. So yeah, I mean, this is where you kind of get into like all of this style of things, and you know, some say it's an art form or stuff like that. It's just really like, it is in the sense that everybody's different, you know, so you kind of have to figure out what you like, not, you know, this is like, put something together and you go, oh, I like that, I like how that went, and I'm like, oh, that looks stupid, I don't like that. And generally nobody has the ant. If someone says that looks ugly, that just keep in mind that's to them, not you. If you like the way it looks, that's what matters. The best part about this game is the fact this is you're building stuff that you like, things that you go, that's cool, I like that, I want that. The whole kind of point for it for me is the idea that I was talking about this actually yesterday, yes. So I was at a cookout. This is the reason why I ate a butt ton of red meat and can't talk today. You know, I was out there talking to friends, and of course, you know, I ended up talking about space engineers, much to the chagrin of those in attendance. Mostly because of the fact that someone that was there had asked about it, showed some interest, and was like, well, I've done a lot of this. Let me tell you what I've gleaned from it. And you know, I was telling them about the fact that, like, I started out playing this game. I was a heavy Minecraft user, and what bothered and loved Minecraft, it was putting down hundreds of hours, you know, like 40 to 60 hours a week, much like I do with space engineers. It's my job. But the thing that always bothered me was that the elements where, like, Minecraft would start to get limited, and in particular those moments had to pertain to like, you could build I mean, you can only build so many, like, castles and fortifications and stuff like that, and you start making stuff that looks like, it's like, oh, I can make this cool looking rover. It can't actually go anywhere or do anything, you know. It's just this kind of fraught with the constant making stuff that I was getting to the point where all I was doing, I felt like I was just making stuff that had no purpose. It's like, oh, this looks cool, but, and particularly when you're playing a game that, like, the only one that's really seeing it is you, it becomes very pointless very, very quickly. It's just like, why am I even doing this? No one's going to see it, you know? And So when Space Engineers came along, and it's just like, oh, not only is this an environment where I can make stuff, but I can do it in such a fashion that other people could see what I did. And if they like it, great, and if they don't, that's fine too. This is like, I don't do things for adulation. So this is like, but you know, but the other kind of huge selling point is that it has its own purpose. In other words, like, you know, I'm building this fighter thing right now. It will have a function. It will do a thing, and it moves. Like, that was the thing that bugged me with Minecraft is like everything that I made in Minecraft was static. You know, they had movable parts, but that was just, you know, like mine carts and horses and pigs and what have you. And it's just like everything's just static. Like, I can't, you know. And I kept trying to figure out if there's a way I could kind of cheat the game or work around it so I can make my own, like, make my own boat. Like I was telling him, I was trying to figure out if I could put blocks, like I could put a boat in the water, put a block on it, and then put another, and then take another boat, and then, you know, or I could just put a block in a boat, build blocks on that boat, and then make my own kind of floating boat, or, you know, basically, you know, take multiple boats and link them together so I can make my own kind of like sailing ship. Because I mean, it's so great and all, but, you know, and I can't make a car. And people are saying, well, there was mods, and this is like, yeah, I'm sure that, you know, I'm not sure if there was a mod that was doing it that would do necessarily what I'm trying to get it to do. But also, doing mods in Minecraft is a real pain in the ass. Like, you had to stop the game, you had to go and download the file, you have to manually change some of files and links and stuff like that. It wasn't like what it is with Space Engineers. Like, Space Engineers makes it crazy easy. You just literally just like go to the workshop, find the mod you want, subscribe to it, and then when you start up the game, go into the mod menu and go, yeah, I want that one, and add that to my game, and it's done. That's it. Done. I swear to God, I don't know how I did some of the stuff I did in Minecraft without knowing Java code. I really don't. Like, how did I get this far without having to know how to read Java? So yeah, so what I'm doing this is just way Greebling goes. It's like, and I'm trying to go fast, but not too fast. So it's just like, you just see like a natural line, and it's just like, okay, I'm just gonna try to follow that. And the fact this is not creative, and I don't have mirror mode, so I have to do it by hand. With my mind. Don't know why I did that there. I feel like I need to carry this. I don't even know if you can see this. You know what? I'm gonna fix something. Paint it white. Alright, now we can see what the fuck we're doing.
Energy low.
Well, that's how it is. You get in a roll, and then she's like, Up your butt because your energy's low. So yeah. Yeah, I like that. Okay. So yeah, it was one of those things that I took to the game really, really fast, just because of the fact that it answered all the problems I had with Minecraft. Like, and I played a little bit of, like, we're talking about, like, I went from being a regular, you know, say a couple hours a day, you know, like I'd get up in the morning and I would play an hour or two, and then before I went to bed I would probably play an hour or two, or like it was like a drug. I mean, I couldn't leave the house unless I've actually put down, like, you know, like I couldn't go to sleep unless I was like, I have insomnia problems anyways, but it was just like, just to deal with this insomnia issues, what I was doing was just basically, well, I'll do all of my, like, my mining during that time because it's so mindless, and then eventually I'll get bored and tired, and that'll put me to sleep. And it would. And that's how I was, you know, it's basically how I need to sleep back then. I need to. So a little trick here is like when you want to place the landing gear and you realize that your landing gear that your entire ship is sitting on is in the way, you can just cut it out.
Energy critical.
Alright, I know. You're only trying to be helpful, and I shouldn't be angry with you. It's just like, I'm busy. Alright. Drill is almost done. See what's on the TV. Isn't that what I was on here when I left? There we go. Hang in there. Best piece of advice ever. Okay, well, let's see. We're working on this landing gear. It's the easiest way to do that is just get up under it. Just like that. And it won't lock because it's in the same grid. And you can see that landing gear is flush with our connector, because I've done this before. I swear I've done this before. Right, I'm gonna go back to my heavy armor selection, and what I'm gonna do is stick that here to cover up that. That'll give us a little bit more time on the, like I said, that highly volatile gyro seems to be. Tend to come right after it. And that camera too. They really like cameras. I think I was saying in the other thing, so if you're trying to understand how that, at least the default stuff, I mean, when you start adding in the, like, corruption mod and, you know, all of the assertive mod type stuff, the AIs work way differently, and they're gonna work a lot way differently come with this new release. But they all kind of work a little bit differently, but generally the default targeting when you select default is basically it goes after computers, so anything that has a computer in it. So this connector, that camera, this landing gear. The landing gear don't get touched. It's usually like the canopy that gets touched because it's got computers in it. Alright, so we've got that. We got that going for us here. And don't like how that looks. Carry that all the way to, yeah, this is what I'll do. I will do this and then this. Yeah. So what's that side? So now we gotta try to make it match. Ugh. It's usually when I start to struggle a little bit is when I'm trying to match up the left and the right side. You think you'd be easy. It's like, I already got a guide to go off of. It should be no problemo, right? Not so much. Oh, you're such a jacket. I knew you had to change it. That's block stays like that. This one gets changed. Right? That feels right. And that's the most important part. It should feel right. It doesn't feel right. Stop doing it. I've noticed I was watching one of Captain Shack's video groups things what he did with Wasted and Tex. It's been a thing I've been watching lately, and I find that I'm not the only one that gets really quiet when they're concentrating, and it's really hard to not do that. Let's marry that. Marry the top and bottom here. Let's see what we're doing there. So we'll do this. Should be good to go. Yeah, let's go. That and then that. Just do it. Just do it. Do it. So like I said, a lot of times it's just filling holes, man. It's just like, there's a hole, fill it. And if you place a block and you don't like how it looks, change it. It's like in the movie Better Off Dead. It's like, well, what advice do you have? Go down this hill. really, really fast. If something gets in your way, turn. Very solid advice. I feel like that's this knowledge that you can just build an entire life on. I have people I know that do a lot of those posting of those, like, motivational quotes and stuff like that. I always find them just so kind of grown. The vast majority of them being very, and there's some that are good out there, but the vast majority of them being very grown-esque, and it's just like you see it and you're like, ugh, this is almost cringeworthy. More bulky than what I usually do, but it works. Actually, cool. I put these in. I have used them once, maybe twice. I know I've used them at least once, but that was it. And it's literally, it's not really something I ever think of either. Gee. And that'd be them parachute thingy jobbies. Where'd you go? There you are. It's one of those, like, well, they're at least there. I don't know if I'll use them, but they're there. Yeah, so, I mean, the conversation I was having with this person, and it was just like, I never want to be one who's like, this game may or may not be for you. And not saying that I think that it wasn't for them, it's just one of those things where it's just like, but it made me think about it. This is like, I have met one person, and that, or I have a friend that they had the game on their, we're friends on Steam, and they had it in there. And I asked them, I was like, I see you have this game, this Space Engineers game in your kind of wish list that I see that, or you showed interest in. I mean, like, are you actually interested in the game? I mean, because it's like, I know that person pretty well, and it was just one of those things that it's like, I don't really see this being something that you would like. It's more, particularly off of and it was mostly based off of the games they were currently playing, and it's just like, yeah, I even more on top of that was the things that they were complaining about with the games that they were currently playing, and why it's like, oh, I hate this, and I was like, this game sucks because it's like, hard, and I'm just trying to get past this thing, and it's just like, and you want to play Space Engineers? This is gonna rock your world. What was I doing? There. Get in there. Okay. So we're gonna put some the old-fashioned landing gear. I was watching I think it was the prior to the that X-Clay, I think, Flo, I can never remember how he pronounces his name. He does a the space engineers people do like a dev showcase stream every once in a while, and I was watching that, and he was talking about how he goes, yeah, with since the advent of the magnetic plate, you really don't see anyone using landing gear anymore. Everyone does custom landings, stuff like that. And it's like, if I had a chance, I would have been like, I still do. Sometimes you just get lazy and you don't really want to go through the rigmarole. Like, oh, I don't want to spend all of those hours trying to figure out how to design this. I just want it in place. Okay.
Energy critical.
Again? Again? I think we got everything in place. So you notice this is like, oh yeah, I need to cover that up. We'll come back to that. Drill should be up, so it should be, yeah. Oh, it's all the way down. What the hell? Oh, it's coming back up. Yeah, it's coming back up now. Let's see how we're doing on the whole hydrogen front. Still at 50%? What the hell? Oh, it's because I turned the damn things off. Yeah, almost 30k of ice out of that. So once that comes up and we'll move forward, we'll do another drop. So I think we'll go one more set of heavy armor here. Cover up that essentially backup gyro. That's all good, that's all good. Alright, that's pretty much all together. Let's, what am I gonna do with this? This looks kind of gaudy. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do this. And... don't weld that. That's just me being derpy. Yeah, I don't think I need this. This is extra parts. As Shaq would put it. So we have our forward guns and the back guns and all that. Alright. Let's, so this is usually where the big shakedown comes. So first thing we're gonna call this, actually I want to change color back now that it's essentially built. Yeah, we'll go with the clean. Actually, let's take a quick gander at what it would look like in plastic. Weird. Might work as an accent, but not really as a whole color scheme. Like, I think this blue really kind of makes it... Yeah, no, it's horrible. That's just horrible. That's not right. Let's do this. This is the one that makes me happy. I feel good about that one. I don't understand why the clean armor is getting these, like... It's supposed to be clean, and it's recently been getting, like, a little bit blemished. But whatevs. Alright. So we're just gonna call this, yeah. Oh, time flies when you're having fun. Mars Defender. Mars Rover. Defender. Oh, it's called MRD for short. So this one I believe is down. Go check that. You betcha. This one is forward. We'll just do a quick renaming. So with like the gyros here, I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to group these. And then I'm going to set this. Now, the weird thing with this, it's different than any other thing. I'm going to set this to 50% or 0.5. Any other thing, whatever this is the increments that you do it in. But for some reason, this, and there's like one other thing where it's just like, you don't put 5, you put, or 50, you put 0.5. And it's like, why here? So there. We'll wait on the thrusters. We're not doing that landing gear because that's the temp one. Just the one. Now, when I built this one here, this 2, is actually the lead, the one in the front. But I'm using one of the 2 in the back, and here is a really squirrely reason why I do this. The group bases the status it shows in the toolbar off the first one in the list, and I want to, if I use the lock or lock off the front one, and it's not always accurate because the ones in the back are closer to the connector. It's just a thing. But when you have a long list, like say like thrusters, and it's you know, it'll say on or off, it's not showing if they're all on, unless you're running what I do at Build Vision, and it'll tell you if they're all, you know, if you're just vanilla, it's just going to tell you what the first one in the list, its status is. So we don't need those in the toolbar, but we need it in the inventory. Don't care about that. Just got one, so it doesn't need a number, and we'll hide it away because we don't care. There's nothing that we're going to... The reason I always hide it is because generally how I hide everything is like, am I going to need to make changes in this interface? If I don't, there's no reason to have it like mucking up the whole thing. So like these batteries, I'm never, or rarely if ever, going to be making any kind of changes in this dashboard to these. So, or particularly individually. So I'm just gonna group them and then I'm just gonna hide them. With the beacon, I might adjust the broadcast radius. I would change the HUD text so that it has this in it. The cameras, I might view outside of that, you know, the connector for sure. Gatling guns, I've hidden them sometimes, and sometimes this one I definitely do because sometimes I'll actually need the control button. But that's generally what I use as the deciding factor of whether or not I'm hiding something. Sometimes like this, I take the word small off the front of it because the alternative, it's small or large. So how about I just call the large ones large and the small ones just hydrogen tank. But like I said, I'm not going to be going into these individually, so I'm going to make a group and then I'm going to hide them away, and I don't even need the inventory because I can't put a bottle in them. So yeah, these ones I've always kind of like been on the fence about, but the rest of these are that. All right, so back to these thrusters. So this is all hydrogen, so I don't need to separate which are which. I will denote what they are if it's not too much, if there's a raging butt ton of them, but if it's not too bad. This makes it so that when they're broken, I can find them easier instead of having to go through, you know, all of the thrusters to try to figure out which ones are broken. It's added steps. It does take longer. It pays dividends for me. I don't expect everyone to do it. I do expect, because I do talk about it, that people make at least change, so don't leave it, change something, throw a letter in there or something like that, or a number or something, to things like thrusters and connectors and anything that where if you're never going to connect it to another thing, fine, but the moment that you print, you have any other ship that has hydrogen thrusters, and you have them grouped together, if you turn them on and off, you will end up turning on and off the hydrogen thrusters on another grid. Or if you have just says connector and you switch connections, and particularly if they have the same number, so just connector, like you only have one connector on two different small ships and they're both called connector, and then you have the connector on your thing to switch lock, you'll switch the lock on yours, but you'll also switch the lock on theirs, because the group doesn't care about what grid it's on. It just sees connector and it goes through anything called connector and switches the state. So next thing you know, the ship that's over on the other side of the base falls off the connector because it had the same name for the items in the group or the items on the toolbar as the one that you're messing with. And I'm pretty sure that the Phantom, like, I've watched streams of other people and they'd be like, oh, there was a Phantom glitch, this thing fell off, and it's like, no, there's no Phantom glitch, you just didn't set your stuff up properly. It usually has to do with stuff that has been printed. That's why I was like saying printing. This is like, because when I come off the printer, all the assemblies in it will have the exact same names. And if you don't go through and make any kind of like change to those the names of those assemblies after printing, it is basically two of the same ship and they will have the same group. And like where there's phantom bugs is there's sometimes where it's like where you press a button, they're not even connected to the grid, and the impact of that pressing of that button will change state of this thing that's flying off someplace else. It's a little odd. Get out of this and go back in so it puts everything back in order. So one of the big reasons why I was kind of like deciding I was going to do this is explain something that it took me a bit of time to learn how to do, or come to the realization of when I first started playing Space Engineers, is if you notice every time I set this stuff up, I always group the backing thrusters into an entirely separate group than the rest of the thrusters. You don't necessarily have to do it. This is the way that I do it. And the reason being is because what I used to do when the first ship I ever built in Space Engineers was atmospheric, because that's the first thing that you do. It just the way that works out. And the only way I knew how to get it go forward, and they said have thrust in all directions, and so that's what I did. And then you'd go forward, you'd push W, and the ship would go forward. And you're like, cool. You push the space bar, it'd go up, cool. But then as soon as you released it, it'd stop. So in my head, I got it. The idea is like, okay, so you have to hold the button down the entire time to go forward, and that's the only way to do it. And which was really kind of annoying. In fact, actually, it was one of the first times when I was trying to hook up my HOTAS, was my joystick and stuff like that. Was maybe that's what I need to do, is hook all this stuff up so that I can do that. And it was all wrong. It was just because of the fact this is what I needed to do is that. So I can show it in here because I'm 100%. How's my battery? 18 minutes. Yeah, I got time. Let's get this finished setting up. I'll explain more after I get this set up. So thrusters, but here, and notice the backing thrusters are an entirely separate group next to it. And then we'll put the gyros in place. Switch like a landing gear. So I set my bars up this way, and I set them up the same way each time. And I've talked about before how this is a good idea, and the reason being is because one is that you know where everything is located. Two, it's also so you know when you've missed something. So what I do is, main thrusters, backing thrusters, gyros, those should be off. Yeah, there you go. Give me a little bit more time. The gyros on and off. The forward camera to work with the guns, and then that one is to turn the Gatling gun on and off, not to control it. Because it'll be shooting, and I use this works on its own, But then when the enemy is dead, I want it to stop shooting, so I want to be able to turn it off. If I want to control it, I do it here. So I'll usually put the beacon here. And then let's say if I want to actually use that, I will put it here. But the second toolbar is generally going to be assigned for handling things like batteries, recharging the batteries, controlling the, so basically power control, so turning that on and off, stockpiling these, parachute control, open close, turn on auto deploy if I want to. So you notice I leave that blank. That's to remind me that this doesn't have an ore detector because it's a fighter, and why would it? I've put stuff there before, but I don't need to. So got that, got that, got that, that, and that. That's separate. Got that. Got those two. Got those. Those are done. That's done, and that's done. So it's good. And what I can do is just basically go through my two toolbars and see that they're both full. So it means I've put everything on here that is required for this. So why do I have 3 buttons instead of 2? So I could have ganged all the thrusters onto one, but when I turn the backing thrusters on and off separately, what can happen is that you get this like weird toggling thing because they're part of a group. So I just leave them as a separate group. But the gist is that I found, particularly when I was trying to get fucking hydrogen engines to work, like when I would build anything with hydrogen, it would run out of fuel in like a hot second. And it was because the only way I needed to do it was just to hold the freaking forward key down on it and basically run the engines at max thrust all the time, which meant that I burned up all the hydrogen in it off the bat. And it was just like, so it was just like I would be able to run hydrogen ships for 5 minutes, and then it's just like, then I don't know what it was a video I was watching, something like that, where it's just like, well, one, they were talking about in space and you're turning off your inertia dampeners, which is the reason why the gyros button is there. Back in the day, gyros used to cost a lot of power, so I had it there so I could remind myself to shut it off when I landed, so that I wasn't drawing a lot of juice. It doesn't draw as much as it used to, and so it's not really a thing. But they were talking about like turning the dampeners on and off, which is the Z key, and you see in the bottom left corner. Works in space. It's a horrible idea in atmosphere because basically you have to do a lot of work to try to go fly straight. Works great in space though. But you don't have to do that if you just shut the backing thrusters off. I figured out, it's like, hey, if I just turn off these backing thrusters, this will just keep going forward. And if actually, if I tilt forward, I can speed up. If I tilt back, I can slow down. So it's like, so I really don't need to have these on unless I'm basically, they're air brakes. Is really what it is. Is like, I only turn them on when I need to stop. The rest of the time, I just leave them off when I'm flying. Okay. So we are, we're at time. But we're all drilled together. So what we need to do, we actually need to get a projects board going now. So now we're getting a little organized and stuff like that. Oh, one of the things I didn't show because I just walked by it. This has its own separate berthing in here. This is actually pretty nice. But yeah, we need a project board here. Stick it on that one. I always tend to walk on this side as opposed to the other side, just because that's where the drill stuff is. I mean, there's not a whole lot over here. It's basically some couches, some seats, and the emergency stuff. And cryopods for basically, if for some strange ass reason someone wants to play with me, it's like they have a place to store their entity. All right, focus, Dinosaur. You need a monitor. Need one of them. So we're gonna put it right here. So if you want to get it so you don't have to do like a radical amount of orientation change, when you put these up, turn counterclockwise or essentially to the left, and then you only have to make 1 degree of rotation to get it squared back up. To-do, pod, to list. Okay, text and images. I think I'm gonna take down the. Let's go set. All right, so all we need is to finish getting ice on board, filling hydro tanks. We need magnesium before we can go any kind of attacking spree. I should actually, while I'm here, I know I'm running a little long, but it's working out. It's a little long, I'll fix it. Let's check out how much we actually have in the ship. Generally don't want to use resources in there. The idea is like we get new resources, but if I've overly inundated the ship with it, then that's fine. Oh no, this ship doesn't have shit for magnesium. Like, we need to mine magnesium just for the ship, let alone for us. What does it got for ammo? Do you have ammo? I got a feeling there's 30. Let's grab that. Not looking good. It's got a bunch of iron in it. Yeah, that's not enough ammo to satisfy all the guns, but it'll be at least something if we get attacked. Let's see. Let's put it in the cargo so it distributes it in a reasonable manner. I'm glad to see that refinery chew through all of that stone. That's handy. Silicon's not a problem anymore. Cobalt is. Alright. Looks like that drills all the way up. Let's move. Let's turn the locks off, and we're gonna bring this back, but I'm not gonna do the other hinge because what I'm actually going to do is back this up instead of going forward. So basically, make a trail towards the cobalt because it's the next thing I need. And I need to go find the magnesium. Right, so unlocking this, lifting this up, and we're gonna go back here. So the beauty is, if you notice, with so many tires, I can roll right over these holes and it doesn't make a big difference. So the only big difference is if I find myself walking through there, I gotta remember not to fall in the hole. off. Make it hard to see. And drop this down. Turn this back up, turn these drills on. So at 6:41, there's like a whole thing of ice. What I may do next week is go after that cobalt directly instead of just getting these, and then park over that, because it's probably a full actual ice deposit instead of the surface ice. This isn't going to get us very far. Keep going like this. Alright, that's in place. Lock that. It's not locked, so we can just kick that on. Yeah, go here and reverse that. Oh yeah, we got a little bit of ice left, so hopefully that'll help. And our fighter is done, but it doesn't have... It's basically on the connector to just get juice. Yeah, because it is at 9%. We do need to make some parachute stuff, which we can do now. So yeah, battery just needs to charge up. Our tanks are full, and so that's ready to go. Oh, did it get any ammo in the moving of that stuff, or? Yes, we did get loaded up. So the Gatling guns each got 3 of 4 got 2, and the turret got some, so that's good. So we can at least use that to defend ourselves. And these got, it's like 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3. 3. Yeah, so all 6 got at least some ammo. Don't need a whole lot of cobalt, but so, finish getting ice on board. Actually, what we're going to do is I'm going to change this to drilling, or mining. Need ice. Magnesium and cobalt. So we can get here, and that one's is like power, charge, batteries, and that fence. Take out bases. There's one other thing that I need to do. Construction, reinforce front wheel struts. Yeah, because we was saying in the other thing is that at the beginning of the video or at the beginning of the stream is that we need to switch those because they take the most stress, so we want to make sure that they're strong enough with heavy armor blocks to. So I turned this down to 100 so that the text isn't so bright, because even changing the brightness in here, so I don't even know if it's, yeah, it has it, doesn't have a brightness setting, so that's the way you kind of get it so it's not so obnoxiously bright. Alright, so turbines are working, batteries are getting there. They'll probably take a coon's age and a half, but you know, whatevs. Need to replenish some parts, but for the most part we're good to go. Don't need gold, platinum, or uranium, at least not right now. The platinum and uranium you can't get here anyway, so but the gold I don't really have a use case for. Silver I've got enough, you know, I got basically everything I've done, so I really just need the magnesium and the cobalt. So we're good there, and then we can get once we take out the surrounding bases that are the two bases that are near us, then we can get going onto our main goal, which is to visit Olympus Mons. So I will cut it off there, and tomorrow will be Frostbite, and if I don't see you before then, I'll talk to you next week. Thanks everyone. Good night.